Coming up on this episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. It's Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to be shocked if they win less than 9 games. I really am. I think almost regardless of how good or bad Rodgers is, he's going to find a way to win 9 football games.
Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. A slightly bonus episode before the season starts. We're going to do our power rankings. Everyone has a power ranking, so why not us as well? And with the season starting just a few days away, it's almost here, guys, we decided to share our power rankings. Hopefully do this semi-regularly throughout the season, just to chat about the teams a little bit more. But why don't we just dive straight in? And how we've done it, we all ranked 1 to 32, added them together, and then organised based on the total. So if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the graphic we've created. And just showing the team. So I'll just run through the top 8, how we ranked them. So we've got the Ravens as number 1, the Eagles number 2, the Bills number 3, Chiefs number 4, Lions 5, Rams 6, Vikings 7, and Bucks 8. So I'll check it up to Byron to start with. Me and you went for the Ravens as number 1, Paul at number 2. You know, the top 4s are all very similar, but yeah, what pushed the Ravens over the Eagles with your ranking?
I think ultimately the Eagles have had a little more loss since they won the Super Bowl, and the Ravens I think have improved more than the Eagles have managed to. I think the Ravens are the most well-rounded team in the NFL. I think they have the quarterback who's been playing the best football the last 3 years in the NFL. Since Todd Monken came in, Lamar Jackson has been an MVP or an MVP candidate. I think he should have won MVP 2 years in a row, but that's by the by. All line's incredibly solid. Mark Andrews is back after a very rough off-season last year. He's at full fitness now. They added Malachi Starks to that safety room. Kyle Hamilton just got paid. I don't see a weakness on the team. Maybe, we'll see how the rookie kicker does, but I mean, kicker you can rotate in and out if you need to through the season, and the kicker play last year was pretty poor anyway, so I think they're starting from an easy spot to get better at, if anything. Yeah, I just don't really see a weakness on this team. So, yeah, I mean, I could see an argument for having them anywhere in the top 4, but to me, they're the best team in football.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very close. I said the top 4, we're all very similar. Paul had the Eagles as number 1. We had 2. You guys had the Bills at 3. I had the Chiefs, and you flipped that round. And the Lions, me and Paul had them at 5, where they landed Byron 6. I think I'll get Paul's opinion on the Rams. So he had them slightly higher than us. So me and Byron both had the Rams at number 8. Paul, you had them at number 6, which put them to number 6 in our rankings. What put them ahead? Because I think it's very similar. There's like 3 or 4 teams just below like the top. It feels like there's the top 4 Lions. And then there's like a group of like 4 or 5 teams. So what pushed the Rams to your number 6?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think everything else is pretty close, to be fair, from that point onwards, that next group of teams. I think Rams smoked the Vikings in the playoffs, didn't they? The last game the Vikings played. So I understand a lot has changed, but that's why I probably just put the Rams above. Same as why I have the Eagles 1, like they're the champs. And the Ravens are great, and that's why I had them at number 2. So not too much difference, but I think the Rams are just going to be really, really solid again. I am worried about Matthew Stafford's back. Very worried about that because it's just been an off-season, a training camp off-season headline, I guess, that and he's just very old, and it's difficult. It's difficult to overcome at that age. So I'm worried about that because if Stafford misses a decent portion of time, I think the Rams could be in trouble with Jimmy G. I think Devontae Adams might just walk out again if he has to try and catch passes from Jimmy G. But I think overall, the Rams are a really, really good team, great coach. We could sit here and talk all day about how great Sean McVay is, but that defense, especially that front, is unreal. I do think they probably need a little bit of help on the back end, but when you get after the quarterback as good as they are, and then they've said, I think it's an upgrade Adams for Cooper Kupp. In terms of kind of where they are now. So, I think the Rams are going to be a really, really good football team, as they usually are. So 6, I feel, is kind of a good spot for them.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit, the Stafford thing. It always feels like the Rams are underplaying it, but, he went into that silver truck and somehow magically sorted is back out. So you'll see. I think the biggest discrepancy, we'll probably go to the next one, Byron. You've got the Vikings at 5. I have them down at 11, just because with the changes in quarterback, I don't know if it's going to be seamless. Some of the, I worry about that division with them. But yeah, you have them all the way up at number 5, the Vikings. Obviously, you're fairly bullish about their prospect and have them above the Lions as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, mentioning the division there, to me, just kind of a point of clarity on how I do it. I don't take into account, like, the division or what I think the win-loss record will be. I'm just looking at it as, like, 32 rosters, essentially, and, rank them 1 to 32. And kind of on that note, you and Paul have already touched on it. I didn't look at kind of anything when I first did my rankings. I literally just wrote down the 32 NFL teams, and I got 1 to 4 immediately. I got 31 and 32 immediately. And then, honestly, I think you could kind of throw a big blanket over 5 to 12, 13, and kind of come up with any which way. We talked a lot on the Vikings on our final NFC North Division preview last week. I just think they were a better overall team than they were last year, and they won 14 games. I think JJ McCarthy is an upgrade on Sam Darnold. I think, and that's sight unseen, obviously. But I think their faith in JJ McCarthy gives me kind of the sight that is in that unseen, I guess. So, because they could have got a veteran in there. They could have re-signed Sam Darnold if they wanted to. As it turned out, Sam Darnold's market wasn't especially juicy. Essentially ended up taking a 1-year prove-it deal, and you'll stick around as long as you're competent. But he certainly didn't get the big bag like was expected midway through the season. So, yeah, I think the Vikings just incredibly solid on both lines. Christian Darrisaw coming back, I think, is a huge addition. No more Cam Robinson on left tackle. And we didn't get into it when we were talking with Arif last week, but I think having Brian Flores there being kind of untouchable as a head coach, it feels like a bit like the Steve Spagnuolo of it all, the Josh McDaniels of it all. It seems like teams don't want Brian Flores as a head coach again after what happened in Miami. And I think that's brilliant for Minnesota, because he might be the best defensive coordinator of certainly in top 5 DCs in football. He's creative. He's aggressive. I think he suits that team really well. I think Jordan Mason is a much better addition than whatever they had at RB2 last year. Cam Akers, I think, probably was what topped it off overall. So I don't have it as a huge difference between them, the Rams, my 9 team aren't even on here, but like the Chargers, the Broncos, the Bengals, Commanders. I think you could kind of say all of these teams would win a lot of divisions, and they're probably going to be a wild card team, whatever division they're in. I just think they're really well structured, the Vikings, and we have to see how JJ McCarthy goes, but I think they're almost guaranteed as a playoff team, barring things going really south.
Yeah. I don't know if I would go that far, and it's guaranteed just with the division. But I'm fairly high on the Vikings. I've got them sneaking in, but yeah, do worry about the wide receiver room having to go back, 6 years ago, getting Phelan back in there. So it's talking about veterans. So we'll see. Let's move on to the next 8. So as we mentioned, there is a tight gap to our 12. So like the points are very close from 6-2 down to 12. So 9 we've got the Commanders. 10, we've got the Chargers. 11, the Broncos. 12, the Bengals. Packers at 13. 14, the Texans. 15, the Niners. And 16, the Bears. I'll just touch on the Commanders because I had them all the way up at 6. So obviously they slipped down to 9 where Paul had it as well. That's just my belief in Jalen Daniels and what he's going to bring. I think there's a few of them teams around that where there's question marks at the quarterback. Some of them are new. I just feel like it's a well-run team, and I think they're going to have a great year again. And he's the exciting, and it's tempting. The odds are not amazing, but still, it's pretty decent for MVP. And I think he could have that kind of year if it happens again. Let's go to Paul. Let's go to the Broncos. So they are ranked 11th. Have you got 13? Me and Byron's got them at 9. What pushed other teams above the Broncos? It feels like they've just had the perfect offseason. Why is this not as much belief coming from you? I know 13's not too bad.
I've ranked at 13, and look, when you kind of have, let's say 14 teams got in the 14 teams getting the playoffs, the kind of, in around one of the last, wild card spots is basically where I've got them ranked, if we kind of look at it that way, which is exactly where they were last year, right? So, I think, again, they're a very, very solid team.
I think, sorry, Paul. I was going to say, I should have reread. What makes the Chargers 3 spots higher? I think that's probably a better question because, you said, it is still a playoff team 13 and probably similar. But what makes the Chargers that much that better than the Broncos? That's what I'm curious at.
So to answer that question, I think I've just got a belief that the Chargers are going to take another step. I think they're in a position where there are still some question marks, but I think Chargers might get some more consistency out of the running game, where it kind of was in fits and starts last year, which I think helps. Lad McConkey was obviously awesome last year, but kind of having Hampton and, I don't know, left eye Najee Harris, I think they might just find that more consistency on the ground, and I think that'll help them. Then they'll be a bit better defensively as well. Obviously, huge is that Slater's missing, which is massive. But I think they'll be able to shuffle things around and be okay. I just think the Broncos are going to be good, but I think they're going to take a bit of a step back. That defense though is crazy good, isn't it? it's incredible defense, and we're expecting big things from maybe kind of that running back, the back room, I guess, the backfield, in terms of Peyton managing to be able to kind of do some magic with RJ Harvey and Dobbins if he can stay fit, but. Yeah, I know. I just think I'm expecting Chargers to kind of make another step, and they were good last year. I think they're going to be great this year, and that's why I've just got them just ahead of the Broncos by a couple of spots heading into the season.
Yeah, no, and I think that Slater injury that does scare me for the Chargers. And I think with the Broncos defense, Bo Nix doesn't have to be that good if they just keep it low. It's just and it's Sean Payton. So. Yeah, like I mentioned, the Bengals are 12. That's I think that seems fair. With I think one of the hardest teams to rank for me, and I was surprised that there is a gap between them and the other teams. And I think it was obviously mine and Byron's fault, but mainly Byron having them at 15th is the Packers. I've seen some power rankings when they're always I've seen them at like 4 or 5 on some power rankings, and obviously Byron's gone 15 here. I think they're such a wild card team. Do you want to speak, Byron, why you had them at 15? And I know we talked about in the NFC North preview, which came out a week or so ago. But down to 15, not making the playoffs and struggling this year.
Yeah, I kind of worry when I keep seeing these power rankings and people tipping them potential Super Bowl teams as well, that I'm like, am I really that far off on them? Maybe I will be. But they did lose their best cornerback, Jay Alexander. Maybe Keyshawn Nixon's pushing him, but I think based on talent and not availability, you'd have Jay Alexander as the best corner in that room. Lucas Van Ness, they keep saying needs to take a step this season, but doesn't seem to be people saying he will take a step. It seems to be like he needs to, because again, it's always the same with the Packers defense. It's loaded with first-round picks who play like mid-round picks. Will Xavier McKinney get 400 interceptions again this season? Probably not. Seems like something that doesn't repeat year on year. A little stretch, yeah. I mean, he felt like he got one a week though the first 6 or 7 weeks of last season. He was incredible. I don't think Aaron Banks is a notable upgrade on that line. Jaden Reed is hobbling through Jones fracture and doesn't want surgery on it, so that's just going to plague him all season. That's a big hit. I love Jaden Reed, the player, but if he can't be out there even in 3 wide receiver sets because he's nursing an injury or gets banged up every week, that doesn't bode well. Obviously, I love Tucker Kraft, but I just look at this team and I don't see, like, I see a lot of good and not anything that's great. Jordan Love has up games and he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in football. And then you see him just throwing off his back foot to Fred Warner or whoever else is in the middle of the field. And you're like, I don't know what he's seeing there. I don't know what he's thinking. And I know he's not been a starter a long time, but he's been in the league a long time at this point. I think those habits should be gone by now if they're going to go. So, yeah, I think there's just so much maybe about the Packers, and maybe I'm absolutely wrong and they push the Vikings, they push the Lions, they win the division, and people tipping them for a Super Bowl at 18, 20, 25 to 1s, whatever the price is nowadays, are going to look really smart. I just worry that there's just not enough there that excels you against the good teams. And I do also have a bit of a worry that we're on odd year Josh Jacobs. Every even year he's great. Every odd year he kind of underwhelms. He had about as many touches as Xavier McKinney had interceptions last year. I think about 400. And behind him, it is Marshawn Lloyd. Is that the correct name there? Who I think, as his hamstrings are about as in good a state as mine, and I pull mine going up and down the stairs. Emmanuel Wilson, who looked okay behind Josh Jacobs last year, but he's certainly never going to be a feature back. And Chris Brooks, who used to be with the Dolphins, and again, is not going to be an NFL starting running back. So if anything happens to Josh Jacobs, health-wise or efficiency-wise, I just struggle seeing this offense be an elite one. And I think an awful lot of eggs are in the Matthew Golden basket, who, Paul talked about this basket a lot through the offseason with Kadarius Toney, with Henry Ruggs, and if you go back a little further, Philip Dorsett of receivers who didn't do it in college and went in the first round and then don't do it in the NFL. It seems like this offense is basically being held up by the idea that Matthew Golden's going to become an elite wide receiver at the NFL level when he wasn't one in college, and I don't think that ever works out. So I don't hate the Packers, but I do have a middle of the packish, and I do worry about it because I see them on a lot of people's higher rankings at the time.
It's weird. As we're getting close to the season, I'm liking the Packers more and more. I did my last cut for the episodes that were released. I've got the Packers winning the division in a 3-way tie with the Lions and the Vikings, and 11-6 off. Obviously, just the way I suppose that tiebreaker works, that I've got them somehow coming on top of the division. I just think they've got a lot of them young players who've been getting a little bit better, and I think it's just raising kind of their level. And I think that happens again in 2025. I think, yes, you do need some more you need to get off the roller coaster with Jordan Love. And even, and that's both ends. Maybe you just don't need the highest of highs as much. You just need kind of a bit more steady Eddie play. And there is, outside of that, there's worry about like huge kind of difference makers. But I just think this is just going to be a solid team with a lot of really, really good players. And they are going to go through the mill playing a lot of big games and a lot of tough games. Yeah. I think that might sharpen them through the season and kind of, sort of callous them a little bit for the back end of the season. I think if they can get in the dance in the playoffs, which I'm fully expecting they're going to, I think they can be a big, big problem. But I ranked them at 11. I had them at like 8 and 9, I think. And then I thought, I'll just bring them down a little bit. I think they're going to be really, really good.
I would like to suffix my statement as well. If the Packers trade for Micah Parsons, disregard the 15 ranking, because then they have a real special player on the hands who can rise all boats with him. So,
yeah.
So this has been recorded before any Micah Parsons trade does get done, if one gets done. But just on the off chance he does end up in Green Bay, they're obviously going up by rankings.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I can see them making the playoffs. I think I mentioned it during the preview. The Matt LaFleur bump is real. I think he'll get him to like 10, 11 wins. But I just don't see him going that far in the playoffs. So, and similar to like the 49ers, where they could have the best record in the NFC, but that doesn't mean I believe in them to win the Super Bowl. And that's just with the schedule. So that's tricky. And yeah, it's funny that we all had the Bears all at 16, and that's the 4th in their division. That's how harsh it is to be a Bears fan. Now you're in the top half, but you're last in your division on the power rankings. But yeah, it should be a fun and interesting year for them.
Just one quick point before you move on, Joe. Yeah. How do you feel that you've both got the Bengals ranked higher than I did? It's a strange one for us.
That is a strange one.
I also love the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to be awesome.
We'll see during the season when me and Byron's gone down to 16 again and you've gone like at 5 or 6.
At 4,
yeah. When they start 0-2 and Paul moves up to 6, yeah.
Yeah. The Bengals have got him right where they want him, with that first week.
Right where I want you.
Awesome, cool. Let's go, to the. I don't know if it's great to be in the next tier, 17 to 24. So we've got the Seahawks at 17, the Falcons at 18, the Jags at 19, Steelers at 20, Cowboys at 21, Patriots at 22, the Cardinals at 23. And the Raiders at 24. I think let's just jump into it with Byron, to be honest. One of the biggest shocks I saw was the Jags at 13. Paul had him at 22, I had him at 23. So it was a huge gap between how we feel about the Jags.
I think Byron's got him ranked with how many wins he thinks they're going to have, I think.
Yeah.
Almost. Almost. I think I'm at 12 and 5. I do have him at 12 and 5, yeah. Liam Cohen, I really believe that he's a really, really smart offensive play caller. I think he's going to elevate this offense to the levels that Trevor Lawrence hasn't had in his career. I think Travis Hunter is the best player to come out of the draft. I think he's going to be an immediate impact player on offense, and we will see what we get from him on defense. The defense obviously needs improvement, but I just think this offense is going to skyrocket this year. Brian Thomas is incredible. I think Travis Hunter is going to be incredible off the bat. I don't hate Trevor Lawrence. I think it's maybe we'd say he gets too much hate. I think if Trevor Lawrence wasn't taken with a number 1 overall pick and you could ignore what he'd done in college, I think people would think he was like fine. But because he came in as a generational prospect and the best since Andrew Luck, that's kind of been a thing to beat him over the head with his entire NFL career, which I don't want to say it's unfair because, it's how the media narrative always is. But I don't think his play has been that awful compared to how some people speak about him. I think
what's funny about that? I also think the opposite as well. Because he's the number 1, he gets let off with a lot of stuff where people are like, oh, he's going to come good next year. He's good. He deserved that contract what he got compared to some other players. Just speaking from like Purdy and some like lower ones and I think even Dak Prescott, where it feels like if they do something wrong, it's more like, see, told you it wasn't good. But it's always like, I feel there's always that excuse with Lawrence as well. So I think it goes both ways.
I think it definitely does go both ways. Yeah, I think the Lawrence stuff is more like projecting forward though, of like he will be great. But like when he just plays average, and it's a bit like Dak Prescott and Purdy to me, where like they've played at a higher level, obviously, but like they've also not had the surroundings that he's had of Urban Meyer as a rookie coach, Doug Peterson, who'd obviously checked out incredibly early last year at the worst, probably earlier in the previous season, if we're being honest. And I think this is the first time he's had what I would regard as like a competent coaching staff around him. We'll see if, he hasn't been able to rise. I just mentioned Mike Parsons will rise all boats with him, but I don't think Trevor Lawrence has shown that ability as an NFL pro yet to rise a team above their level. But I don't think that necessarily means he can't do it. I think he still makes some incredibly good throws. He needs to improve, obviously. But I think the defense is solid. I think obviously on the back, the cornerbacks, the safeties, defensive backs need to improve. We'll see what they do with Travis Hunter. I think that's going to be fascinating through the season. Obviously, as everyone else does, that's not a unique take. But I just think with Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas on offense, pick your running back kind of in fantasy. My pick would be going Bashal 2, and I think he's the most explosive of the 3. And I just think, like I say, I think wheels up. I just trust Liam Cohen. I trust James Gladstone. I think he's bringing over to the Rams philosophy. I think there's going to be a lot of like that Rams, not necessarily play calling, but their philosophy of how they call games and manage their roster. And yeah, I just think the roster in itself, I was saying this before even the draft, there's not that many holes in it. There's things that you would like to be better, obviously, but I don't look at it and go like, oh, they're really struggling because of this. And I think it kind of remind me a little bit of the Bengals South almost. You've got not Joe Burrow quarterback, obviously, but I think if you add Liam Cohen with Trevor Lawrence, I think you get a much improved version of a quarterback. You've got 2 elite wide receivers. I'm calling Travis Hunter that, again, sight unseen in the NFL because I've seen him in college. And then a defense that is probably going to be the weak spot of the team, but I don't think it's as weak as the Bengals, but I don't think their offense is as strong as the Bengals either. But I think it's kind of similar structure.
Yeah, I think I'm a very wait and see. There's certain teams where I don't give them the benefit. Yeah, they don't get the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. The Bears and Bamf and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised in week 2 or 3. I've got them up there. But it's a bit of wait and see, new head coach, and just sometimes you get excited for some of these teams and it just doesn't quite pay off. But yeah.
That's directly me, right? Because I definitely do.
Yeah, and it's like vice versa. The Steelers, where I do give them the benefit of the doubt. Where I've got them 17, and I'll let Paul speak. You've got them at 18. Obviously, we're opposite to Byron. Are you worried that so Byron's got 25, I've got 17, you've got 18. Is there that worry that we just giving them the benefit of doubt that it's Mike Tomlin is going to get them to 9 wins and it doesn't matter who they've got?
Yeah, that is exactly it. It's Mike Tomlin, and I'm going to be shocked if they win less than 9 games. I really am. I think almost regardless of how good or bad Rodgers is, he's going to find a way to win 9 football games. He's just going to do it. He's done it with worse quarterbacks than Aaron Rodgers. He's done it with multiple quarterbacks 3 seasons. He did it with Big Ben with his limbs hanging off. He's going to find a way to win 9 football games. That's just that's how good this guy is. And you know what? Obviously, he signed it for another 3 years. I know the people of Pittsburgh and Steelers fans and Yinzers are fucking sick of it because it's just, 9 wins, 10 wins and nowhere. And I get that must be very, very frustrating. But they're just going to be a really good defense again. Can the defense hold up longer, I suppose, later into the season is probably the question. And can Rodgers just give them a base level of quarterback play where, you don't need tons of points to win games, I think, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. That defense, I think it'd be the rare occasion where the defense gives up more than 24, 25 points. So you don't need to score a lot. And I think they'll be in the vast majority of games. There'll probably be one blowout somewhere where the roof's caving in. But yeah, they'll be in the vast majority of games and they'll find ways to eat them out. TJ Watt makes enough big plays and the defense make enough big plays that win games. So yeah, I think they'll be right there, 9 and 8 again, or somewhere around that. And yes, just in the kind of middle. I think they're just probably going to sit around here, late teens maybe, in the power rankings, probably all season long.
Yeah, I agree. And it's an interesting group this because I think all of these can make the playoffs. I think I'd be surprised if the Raiders did, but from 17 to 23, I wouldn't be surprised if they snuck a wild card.
How many are we exactly aligned on, Joe? So I saw one in the last slide, I think.
Raiders, Bears, Cowboys.
So we got Raiders, yeah. I just chat with you guys. Do you have any thoughts on the Cowboys? We've all got them at 20. I think that I'm actually fairly bullish on the Cowboys. I think they're going to have a good year. Obviously, we'll see what happens with the trade. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get bumped up to 15, 16 going into midway through the season. But yeah, happy with Bob. You're obviously happy with we've all gone 20. So yes, that was another one. And the Raiders, we all had 24, which was a strange. I wasn't quite sure where to put them because I have no idea how they're going to go.
Yeah, I struggled with I kind of wanted to have the Raiders higher because I love the idea of what they have. Pete Carroll, Geno, Brock Bowers. Deontay Thornton, I think, has been really exciting during preseason. I'm not sure how much he'll play into the real season, but he looks incredible. But it's just so hard because the defense is so lacking that it's hard to get too excited. And then if Jacoby Myers goes, that pass catching room really takes a hit. So I like the idea of the Raiders this year. Their win total doesn't reflect it, and 24 doesn't reflect it. But they are a team I think they could surprise people, including me, clearly, because I have 24.
All right, let's move on to the last 8. So sorry if these are any of your teams who you support, but unfortunately they have to be terrible teams each year. So number 25 is the Panthers, 26 is the Jets, 27 the Dolphins, 28 the Giants, 29 the Colts, the Titans at 30, Browns 31, and I apologize, but I'm a Saint hater who's felt like the last few years, so I apologize, Jenny, but we all had them at unanimous at 32. Let's talk about the Panthers, where we had quite a bit of range. So Byron, you had them at 21, or at 28, I had 27. Is this again you're projecting the improvement? Obviously, with Thielen just being traded to the Vikings, is that a worry that defense is still, it was the worst last year. It could be the worst again, really. What made you think 21 for the Panthers?
I think if you look at the second half of last season, which I don't think it's the wisest thing to do, but I think they showed notable improvement. They pushed the Eagles really far towards the end of the season. Bryce Young looked like an NFL quarterback. I kind of love them getting rid of Thielen because as fine as he is as a player, I think he's going to be a bit of a roster clogger in terms of they're not winning anything this year. I did say I wouldn't be stunned if they made the playoffs this year. I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be stunned. But it gives their 3 young wide receivers, Leggett, McMillan, and Jalen Coker, Cokeheads stand up, a chance to, especially Jalen Coker, get those slot snaps. He played really well last year. I think he went under the radar a lot because he played for the Panthers, still does. But I think their O-line is really stout. They invested a lot of money in it. And they've improved a lot defensively. I don't think they'll be the worst defense in the league again. I think defense is more prone to fluctuation anyway than offense. But, I mean, getting Derek Brown back is obviously huge. As soon as he went down last year, it was a case of, like, us three could have ran all over that defense. I think they've took real steps to improve that, make them much more stout, make them much stronger up the front. Obviously, they've drafted the 2 outside linebacker DNs, Princely and Nick Scotton. I'm just kind of anticipating Dave Canales getting this offense to around the same level they finished the season at, and the defense being significantly better than last year, but not necessarily even a top 20 defense. They could jump from 32 to 26, and that's a big improvement because they were 32 by a lot last year. So I think just having a relatively competitive defense, and I think the offense will continue to step up. I love the addition of Rico Dowdle to that running back room. Trevor Etienne is a good pass catching running back as well. I don't think we'll see Chuba Hubbard get the workload he did last year. I think they've got better backs to eat into it. And when Jonathan Brooks actually was fit for that brief period of time, Hubbard's workload did go down. So it's not like they want to have I don't think many teams do want to have a running back touching the ball, 350 plus times a season. So I think you'll see that spread out more. And yeah, that line, offensive line, I just think is really solid. So I think, yeah, again, I'm not going crazy. I'm going to still have them at 21, but I think they are kind of more well-rounded than a lot of the teams on this page here.
Yeah. I felt harsh putting them at 27, but it's similar with the Jets. I'm like, fairly again bullish on the Jets. I think they're going to have a good year. But then when he was like looking at the teams, it's like, oh yeah, they are going to be high, mid to high 20s, 26. So yeah, we'll move on to Paul. I'm interested in these ones. Obviously, with the Danny Dimes news, so his new team and old team. You had the Colts at 26 and the Giants at 29. Me and Byron had them more or less flipped in terms of we both had the Giants higher than the Colts. Well, yeah, what made you push up the Colts? Yeah, to 26 and not so bullish on the Giants with their rookie QB, maybe not starting, but coming through throughout the season.
Yeah, I think just the confirmation and last week whenever it was that Danny Dimes is going to be the starting QB, one of the first bets cash of the season, assuming he makes it to next Sunday, is that I just think he gives them just a base level of competency that Anthony Richardson doesn't, and I think that's going to be enough. That's probably another couple of wins for the Colts. I mean, I had them at a pretty low win total anyway. But and that's another couple of wins. I think he can win 6, 7, 8 games with Danny Dimes. I know obviously he had his problems in New York, but I think he's just going to be you're not going to have the complete and utter roller coaster of Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to be more settled. And the Colts do have some good players. So, yeah, I think, the kind of, last couple of years, they've been, a 7, 8 win team last couple of years. I think maybe you probably get into that if Danny Dimes plays the full year. I know and then that is a big if. He has his own injury problems that, we know, but ultimately Steichen and Chris Ballard are under pressure to win games. And I think ultimately Daniel Jones gives them the best opportunity to do that. And I think they will win a few. I think they'll win more than I thought they were going to do a couple of months ago or a few months ago. When I was thinking this might be like a 4 or 5 win team. I think they'll be closer to 500. I still think they'll be very good. But I think when you look at kind of them, where I'm at 26, I think they're, better ahead of the Giants. Whereas the Giants, I think, could have a lot of positivity that comes from this season. But that might only happen when they stop playing Russell Wilson. And this is a week 0 power ranking, and Russell Wilson is the starting quarterback, and he sucks.
Yeah, but I still prefer Russell over Danny Dimes, though. I've got to say, I just think with the teams around, there's like some hope. I just got no hope about the Coast. Like, there might be a better team than some of them, and they might have a better record, but like the hope is not. It's not really there with them. I'm just
Totally agree.
We're not doing hope rankings. This is the power rankings.
True. So yeah,
But
and then
no QB and no DBs is not a good combination.
I mean, we can go through a lot of these teams discussing what they haven't got.
Not many of them don't have no QB or DBs. So.
And then, so does anyone want to, any hope for the Browns and Saints? Like I said, we are unanimous with 31 for the Browns, 32 for the Saints. Does anyone want to speak why they're the difference? And is there any hope for either of these two teams, or is it a battle for the number one pick? Is that the most best outlook we can look at?
Well, I think we probably have talked about this on the bets episode. I think the team that we've got at number 27 are in danger of the number one pick. The Miami Dolphins, I think they're in big, big trouble. We've got them at 25, 27, 29. I think I've just got them at 27 just based on kind of at least the talent they've got right now if you look at the roster, because they do have some outstanding players, or at least built up credit as outstanding players. For example, like your Tyreek Hills, etc. But yeah, I think this is going to be a mess, and yeah, I think this is where the Dolphins are going to live in our power rankings for the vast majority of the year. I think I've got teams. I think the Saints are going to end up with better records than the Dolphins.
I'm not quite. I wouldn't like. I can see the Saints pushing up to like the late teens and having hope and having a good year. I just don't see the Saints having that whatsoever.
Oh, right. The Dolphins, not the Saints.
The Dolphins, the Dolphins. I'll be shocked. Like when I just look at this Saints, obviously, they're getting Spencer Rattler being the QB1. It's a much hope there. And that defense is just full of veterans. Like, I just don't know what to do with that team. But like again, they might win 4 or 5. I can see the Dolphins actually having a good year and pushing for the playoffs if everything falls right. I think if everything falls right for the Saints, they're winning 5 or 6 games. I think, that's a big reason.
I obviously don't see the Dolphins being good. I have them at 29, the lowest of us. And I don't know if I said it on here or I said it on social media. I completely agree, Paul. I've already backed the Dolphins at 20-1 to have the first overall pick next year. I think things can go incredibly south incredibly quickly, and not just because they're in Florida, but because that team looked checked out at the end of last season. And, the GM came out and said, we're not looking to make moves. Or maybe it was the owner who came out and said, we're not looking to make moves at GM or coach. It's like, well, you probably should do. But to your point, Joe, we don't know that Tyreek Hill's washed. And if he isn't, and Tua can get that ball out quickly, and Tua can play 17 games, none of which is crazy, then I can see them pushing. What I kind of draw similarity to is, and I have them not back to back, but I have the Giants at 26 and the Dolphins at 29. I think they've settled pretty similarly with reasonably poor roll lines, very, very good pass rush, and then not much else. And I just kind of think the Giants can go to Jackson Dart, as you've alluded to there, Paul, and have hope, even if they have a 4-3 win season. It's like, okay, but look, because they have a real brutal schedule as well. The Giants, I don't expect to get many wins, even though I think their defense is pretty good on paper. Whereas the Dolphins are 4 years into the Mike McDaniel experience after this season. Feels like 15 years into Chris Greer as the GM, floating along experience. And I think those two teams could end up pretty similar by the end of the year. But if the Giants hit on Abdul Carter and the Giants hit on Jackson Dart and the Giants got Malik Neighbors as their 3 cornerstones and Andrew Thomas at left tackle, you kind of go, okay, there's something here for the future. You look at Miami, and I just think if they clear house at the end of the year, and I think that's very likely, obviously, I'm at 29, and I've already bet them to have the first overall pick next year. What's there? Jalen Waddle's a fine wide receiver too. Chop Robinson had a really good year last year. I obviously love Devon Echan. A running back is never a cornerstone of your franchise. I'd be more surprised if the Dolphins are at 15 than at 32. So obviously I'm at 29, so I'm not expecting a good season.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like with the Dolphins, if they have a good year, I just try to rank in terms of like if they had like a similar expectations and like Tua plays every game. If they're running it, I just see that they're a better team. I feel like I think it's always forgotten about. Like, but you did mention like the front of that defense as well. They've obviously got Chubb and they've got Jordan Phillips as well.
Yep.
They've got like a and they've got Grant in the draft. I think they could have a good. Obviously, the back end's not great. But I think if Tua stays fit, then I think he's going to have a good year. I think that's the problem with the Dolphins. I think even if Russ stays fit, I don't think he's guaranteed to have a good year. I think that's the difference between them two teams. But it's not widely different. But I do agree. If it goes wrong for both them teams, there's more like hope again for the Giants than the Dolphins going forward. So I do agree in that sense, just with the young players they've got and what they've set up.
Big part of the Dolphins as well the last couple of years they've been really, injuries have been a huge problem. They're going into the season suffering already. I think they've got crazy amount of people. I think they've obviously the cuts and stuff, but they had a crazy amount of people on IR. They're in a position where I think A-Chain's dealing with an Achilles problem. Like that could just be one that goes through the season. Jalen Wright's had a surgery. So Mattison had a neck injury. He's done for the year. He was your other running back. So who have you got as a running back? Tyreek Hill's coming off wrist surgery, has been injured. I think he returned to practice today. And then defensively, they're kind of, I think Grant's been hurt. A couple of others on the defense, and you're like, if they're already struggling there, some people are going to make some business decisions. Are on the Miami Dolphins, maybe Tyreek, maybe Jalen Waddle. They're going to make some people are going to make some business decisions. I think this year.
Yeah, I think Tyreek is actively making them as we speak. Does not seem like a happy camper.
Well, there you go. That's our first power ranking, week 0. We'll obviously check in throughout the year to see how terrible we were, or if we got anywhere close. It'll be interesting to see the ups and downs. And yeah, in the next episode, guys, it's week 1 preview. We've made it. We've made it through the summer, the hard work, the puns, the graphics, and we're finally here to talk about week 1 going into the Eagles. Cowboys game on Thursday Night Football.
We don't have to talk about that game. That's okay.
Well, we probably will be. So, you see us guys. We'll be releasing this slightly early on the Wednesday or the Thursday, hopefully, before the first game. And, we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.